Hello and welcome to your first real lesson of Make Things with C++. Today we are going to make a get to know you program. It's called Where You At, and what it's going to do is it is going to ask the user for their name and ask them for where they are, for their location, and then after that it's going to spit it back out to them. It's going to say it back to them. Okay? And in the process we are going to learn a few things. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. We are just going to completely create a whole new project. So go ahead up here, click on the new project. We're going to choose an empty project. Lessons in the future, I will not go through this setup each time. I will expect you to know it. In future lessons, I'll just start coding. So we'll go to empty project. We'll name this project Where You At. And we are going to save it in our file on our desktop that we've made for this. It's under Make Things. Everything else will remain the same. Go ahead and leave the debugger unchecked. Actually, let's check it this time. And finish. And then we'll create our first file. New file. Empty file. Save it as a C++ file. And let's name it where.cpp. Save it. Okay. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do when we program in C++ is we need to include the libraries that we are going to use. So C++ comes with, dozens of different libraries standard. Really, it's best to only include the ones that you need. The reason why is because your program would be much bigger than it needs to be. Whenever you compile, so I'm going to include this right here. I'm going to include IOStream. And when we compile our code eventually, anything that's in IOStream library is going to be in front of our code. All those variables upon compile are put attached to the code. It doesn't matter how small or big our program is, all that other stuff you could think is written above what we program. So for this first project we are going to include two libraries. We're going to include the IOStream and we're going to include the string library. So when you include a library, make sure you add these less than and greater than signs on the either side of it. That is how you indicate that you want to include a library. Alright, so after we include our libraries, we are going to create our first code block, our main code block. So every C and C++ program ever written has a main function. That is what we're doing right here. Main is where everything is executed. All the program's functionality is going to take place within this main function, in between this code block here. So you see this opening curly brace and closing curly brace. That is what's called a code block. Anything that happens in here is in the main function. That's what this is. And so you can see here that I've put the first opening curly brace on the same line. Sometimes you'll see it on the line below. Doesn't really matter which one you choose, just stay consistent across your programming. You'll see a lot of little things that are different across who's programming it. So only lesson really you need to take from that is just stay consistent with your programming. And yeah, what we're going to do here. So this right here is the basic overall structure of a simple program. You have your libraries up top and you have your main function here. If you look at the beginning of the main function, it says int. What that means is that this function is going to return an integer no matter what. So that is why C and C++ are so fast, is because it knows that no matter what this program does, whatever main does, the only thing it's going to return from it is an integer. So that's why we write return 0, which traditionally indicates that no error happened, that the program ran successfully. Sometimes you'll see with software that you use, it'll return an error number. That's where this comes from. So someone will write, if something goes wrong, return 1008. And that's how we get error numbers generally. Something else to note is you see how I have indented the return statement here. This is how we keep things looking clean. You're going to come back and read this code later on, and it's a lot easier to read if you keep it nice and organized. To the computer, it doesn't matter if you type your program like this, but if you're a human, it's much easier to read the other way around. So just stay with the normal formatting that you would expect to see, where every time you get deeper and deeper into your functions, you tab it or you double space it or quintuple space it. Whatever it is, just stay consistent throughout your programming and make it legible. Thank you so much for watching our video today. If it was helpful or you enjoyed it, please like or subscribe.